Hello everybody, this is Tip Top MTG here today with another Magic the Gathering news video. In today's video, we are going to be covering the March 9th, 2020 banned and restricted announcement. So, last week we got a little tweet from Wizards of the Coast that said, hey, next Monday there's going to be a banned and restricted announcement, and yep, here it is. I didn't think that was enough to really make a video over. It was one tweet. I'm sorry. Either way, going into this, why don't we break it down? It's a very big one, and so we're going to break it down format by format. But first, let's do like a little overview of everything that's being affected. So first, in Brawl, Golos Tireless Pilgrim is banned. In Historic, the following cards are moved from the suspended to the banned list. So Oko, Once Upon a Time, and Veil of Summer are now permanently banned, or not permanently, they could become unbanned in the future, but they are no longer on the temporary ban list, they are now on just the normal ban list. And then Field of the Dead was untemporarily suspended, so it's now back in the pool of cards. Then in Legacy, we have Underworld Breach being banned, and in Modern, we have Once Upon a Time being banned. So, just a little thing, because I want to talk about Historic, because this is kind of new. A while ago, Oko, Once Upon a Time, Veil of Summer, and Field of the Dead were all placed on the suspended list, which means they were banned until the beginning of the next Historic season. And that is coming up right around the corner, and so they're announcing that these three cards are permanently banned. This one is being brought back in, and the reason they do this is because they would rather add cards that counteract these and allow for a more interesting meta than just outright banning cards. And when we get to talk about Historic, I'm going to talk about what happens in terms of wild cards. So, why don't we start with Brawl, though, because that's where they're starting. In Brawl Play on Arena, decks using Golos Tireless Pilgrim as their commander have risen to become about 10% of the field. This makes Golos twice as popular as the next most popular Brawl commander. While this isn't inherently problematic, Golos' 5-color identity also circumvents deck building restrictions that most other Brawl decks need to work within. Additionally, Golos' ability to tutor for specific lands, which can, among other things, help pay for future commander taxes, reduces variety of gameplay in a way that's inconsistent with the spirit of the singleton format. For these reasons, Golos is banned. So basically what they said is he's the most popular commander. He is a colorless commander, but he technically is all 5 colors, so you can pretty much put him in any color deck you want, and his ability, every time he enters the battlefield, he gives you a mana back. And the idea here is that every time you have to recast him, you have to pay 2 extra mana. So you pretty much are reducing the mana, the commander attacks on Golos every time you play him. As well, they don't really mention this, but it also allows you to go out and search for Field of the Dead, which allows you to basically build up this giant army out of nowhere, and it circumvents what they said, the singleton format. So, yes, I agree with this decision. Okay, next we have the Historic. So this one, we have in the last Historic update, 4 cards were suspended from the format for having problematic win rates and reducing diversity. We now have updates to those suspensions with Field of the Dead becoming unsuspended, and Oko, Veil of Summer, and Once Upon a Time becoming banned. Because of the digital-first nature of Historic and its unique approach to adding card content, our philosophy is, when possible, to introduce answers to problematic cards rather than ban them. In the case of Field of the Dead, we introduced some new answers with Historic Anthology 2, such as Ghost Quarters, which allows you to destroy target land, and Goblin Rune Blaster. With these new options and other decks picking up powerful additions, we're optimistic that we can reintroduce Field of the Dead without decks that use it becoming dominant. I mean, I kind of agree. I just don't see the point in re-adding it. It's not that fun of an archetype, and if you're going to nerf it to the point where it doesn't work, then it's not a fun card. And so either way, it's not going to matter to the format. Like, either it's going to take over and ruin the format, or it's not going to do anything to the format. So why risk it? Honestly, though, I could, if it ends up working out, I will be happy. Now, Oko Thief of Crown, Veil of Summer, and Once Upon a Time are powerful cards that are difficult to interact with an advantageous way. After observing the health of the format with and without these cards, we've decided to upgrade the suspensions to bans. For more information on why these cards were originally suspended, see that announcement. They're broken. There you go. Don't have to see that announcement. Overall, we're pleased with the current state of Historic and the variety of archetypes that have been performing well. We'll continue to keep a watch on to how the format develops with the addition of Historic Anthology 2 and the unsuspension of Field of the Dead. If issues arise, we're likely to suspend problematic cards temporarily to see how the metagame responds. So, basically they said, hey, those 3 cards are too powerful, we can't just introduce 2 or 3 cards that will stop them, but Field of the Dead, we feel like we can stop that with a couple cards. And I agree. I think that out of the four, I mean, Veil of Summer might be the one that could come back a little bit more. But whatever, Field of the Dead is okay. Now, here's the thing about wildcards. So someone asked this, I believe, on the forums or on Reddit. I don't remember which one. And they basically said, hey, are we going to get wildcards for Oko, Veil of Summer, and Once Upon a Time? And they said, yes, but here's how it's going to work. And this is kind of important. So, you are going to... So say you got, so when Oko was banned in Standard, they gave out wild cards. And so say you owned 3 Okos, and so you got 3 wild cards. Now, since then, you got another Oko from wild cards for Historic. Then you're going to get that 1 wild card back. So basically, you can only get 4 copies of a card, like for wild cards. So if you already got 4 copies, 4 wild cards for Oko when he was banned in Standard, you won't get any. But if you got 2 of them, because you only had 2, and then you purchase 2, you use wild cards to get 2 Okos, then you'll get those 2 wild cards. So that's how that works. And it only works for when something becomes banned, not when it becomes suspended. So if that makes any sense. So you can only get 4 wild cards for a copy of a card. So I assume this would work the other way too. If it was banned in Historic versus then Standard, it would work the same way. So if you got 4 wild cards for something that was banned in Historic, you won't get another 4 for Standard. Okay. Moving on to Modern, over the past months, Once Upon a Time has become one of the most played cards in Modern, contributing to several of the most popular decks and highest winning decks. The consistency provided by Once Upon a Time allows these decks to much more reliably enact their early game plan compared to other archetypes in the metagame, leading to the less divergent gameplay paths. Going forward, Once Upon a Time poses a design constraint in making it too easy to assemble creature and land-based combinations. In order to facilitate more varied gameplay and mitigate future risk, Once Upon a Time is banned in Modern, and I honestly think that the reason they're stating is a good mentality. Hey, we're banning it because it's limiting what we can design, and it's making it, like, it's not maybe a huge problem now, but we see it becoming a huge problem, so we're going to take advantage of it. On top of that, Once Upon a Time's already banned in, like, everything else, so that's fine. Moving on to Legacy, since the release of Theros Beyond Death, we've worked with the evolution of combination decks that revolve around the interaction between Underworld Breach, which allows you to basically recast things for mana and exiling cards, Lion's Eye Diamond, which gives you mana for... so it gives you mana, you discard your hand, and then you add 3 mana. So that allows you to then recast Lion's Eye Diamond, and all the cards from your hand are now in your graveyard, which then you can exile to replay Lion's Eye Diamond. So you can either completely mill yourself with this card, you can add a bunch of mana to your mana pool, you can search your library for cards. So this can do a ton of stuff, as well as Brain Freeze, which allows you to basically infinitely mill yourself. In many cases, we'd allow a new breakout combo deck for some time in the metagame to adapt, but as these decks were refined, it became clear that from the rising win rates, that Underworld Breach's interaction with Lion's Eye Diamond would remain problematic in Legacy going forward, rather than allowing these decks to have a large part of the competition metagame before likely needing to make changes in the near future. We're choosing to ban it now. So again, they're trying to be preemptive, they're trying to do it before it becomes a problem, which I appreciate. Then we have Pioneer. So if you notice up here, it didn't actually say there were any Pioneer bans. So they're going to talk about why there are no Pioneer bans. Generally, we're happy with how the Pioneer metagame has been playing out over the past several weeks. We saw tremendous diversity across the top decks of the 3-player Tours tournament in early February. Magic Online data indicates that the matchups between the most popular decks are in a healthy place, and we're having both won and lost matchups against each other. However, we are aware of some community concern about some of the new combos that broke out around the time of the player tours, including Dimir Inverter deck, the Lotus Breach deck, and Heliod Suncrown and the Walking Ballista combo. In general, we're okay with the combo having presence in the Pioneer metagame, but it's certainly possible to have combos that are too strong or too prevalent. Combo decks can quickly become unhealthy in large doses, and especially when they are difficult to interact with, win quickly or win too often. Well, I think the Heliod thing can win like turn 4, so... Either way, across the last 2 weeks of MTGO leagues, Dimir Inverter has had a 49% non-mirror match win rate and has been unfavorable matchup against 5 of the other 10 decks. That win rate has been drifting down ever since the player tours. Lotus Breach decks have been at an even lower win rate, with unfavorable matchup against most of the other decks. This is especially true post-sideboard, where many decks have access to Dampening Spear and other answers. Decks using the Heliod Ballista combo have yet to prove themselves consistently in competitive tournaments, and aren't showing up at play rates we consider problematic. In addition, many decks that include the combo do so along other primary game plan, which means more diversity of gameplay and fewer games ending with the combo finish. Oh, there's a lot. With this all in mind, we're choosing not to change Pioneer at this time. We'll continue to monitor the popularity and win rate of combo decks in Pioneer and are willing to make changes in the future. The criteria we'll be looking at include overall and matchup by matchup win rates, success in tournaments, population in the metagame, and community sentiment playing with and against these decks. Our hope is to not make any change until after the Player Tour Finals, Houston, in late April. Now, what they don't talk about is why nothing in Standard was banned, but I'm not really going to go into that here. That's been a brief overview of all the cards that have been banned today. This is one of the biggest bannings that I've seen. I believe my biggest one was, I think the title of the video was 6 cards banned, and here we have, I mean, I guess it's 6 cards banned, and then we have 1 unbanned, so slightly bigger than last time, but either way. That's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.